Welcome to this launch webinar for the Centre for National Training and Research Excellence in Understanding Behaviour, also known as Centre UB. Today we have a panel of speakers who will talk about the Centre. Our Director, Jess, will explain the overall vision for the Centre. Our Deputy Director, Yet, will then talk through the research opportunities. Our partner from the Government Skills Department, Siobhan Dickens, will talk through our collaborations. And I, as the Training Director for the Centre, will outline the training programme. Before we begin, just to note that all of our webinars will be made available on our website and our YouTube channel for you to watch, download at a later date. You can also access our privacy statements from our website or by contacting us by email. On the slides, you will also see there are opportunities to engage with us through social media on both LinkedIn and X. And at the end of the webinar, we will be providing information on how to register, how to engage with the Centre, and also outlining the research and training opportunities. And the webinar will also finish with a live Q&A. So that now brings us to the start of the webinar, and I'd like to hand over to our Director, Jess Woodhams.
Thank you, Vicky. I'm hoping that's displaying appropriately for everybody. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm delighted to be kickstarting our launch webinar with a general introduction to what we call Centre UB, but also for us to be here to answer some questions that come up when we tend to talk to people about Centre UB and our mission. So Centre UB is part of an ESRC funded initiative to build national capability in behavioural research. And on the screen, you'll see these are just some of the questions that we've been asked by academic and partner colleagues when presenting in the past about Centre UB. Therefore, I want to start by considering what is behavioural research? So this is not a silly question because the field is very messy in terms of definitions for behavioural research and also related areas as well. So for example, behavioural research is said to measure behaviour. It's said to capture behaviour, observe behaviour, and sometimes it's equated to behaviourism specifically. Social research is another term we see, and we'll hear more about that today. Social research is defined as research that draws on theories and methods from social science, and it's also very relevant to understanding behaviour. Other people define social research as the study of society or social issues. So we've also mentioned there social science. So what is social science? The Academy of Social Sciences define it as social science is the study of people as individuals, communities and societies, their behaviours and interactions with each other and with their built, technological and natural environments. So social science and social science research are sometimes described with a purely qualitative focus, yet social scientists have a long history of using experimentation and also quantitative methods too. Another term that I'm sure you'll be familiar with is behavioural science. Some behavioural scientists, when defining their discipline, refer to studying behaviour using experimentation, randomised control trials, whereas others again discuss using qualitative methods. Others refer to not just studying behaviour per se, but the when and why of behaviour, so the temporal context in which behaviour occurs and also the drivers of behaviour. In addition to the when and why of behaviour, we also have the where and the how. Behaviour may only be observed under certain circumstances, for example, in certain places, and how an individual enacts a behaviour may also differ for reasons associated with the person themselves or the situation within which they find themselves. As per the broader definition of behavioural science I gave you, behavioural research includes the study of drivers and consequences of behaviour. Consequences of behaviour have an impact on ourselves and others. Therefore, they're clearly important from a policy and practice perspective. But also, consequences can become the drivers of subsequent behaviour. Bearing all this in mind, I would explain that behavioural research is the study of behaviour, its drivers and consequences, and the context in which the behaviour is enacted. In terms of methods, Behavioural researchers adopt behavioural and social science methods, both quantitative and qualitative, as I've already explained, but we can also utilise methods from other disciplines in furthering our study of behaviour. So, for example, we can look to computer science and we can use natural language processing to extract features that are indicative of behaviour from large written texts. We can also use machine learning to analyse large volumes of behavioural data. In terms of impact and the question of how you might use behavioural research, very simply, it can provide you with insights into a type of behaviour that might be new or emerging, or perhaps being expressed in a new way. This could include understanding the drivers of a behaviour or its consequences. Knowledge about behaviour can help with planning further research, such as moving from descriptive research to explanatory research. It can provide the basis on which to design an intervention, implement that intervention, and evaluate it. It can assist in understanding the consequences of an intervention, where, when, and with whom they might play out. You also may have already intervened, and behavioural research can inform you as to the outcomes of your intervention, its success, or where improvements are needed. So, I wanted to give you an example, a case study of behavioural research in practice. With colleagues at Imperial College, the University of Leicester, and also the National Crime Agency, I've been developing an AI-enabled tool to help crime analysts identify the crimes of serial sex offenders, and also the people who are responsible for those crimes because we don't know who they are. So to do this, we needed to investigate human behaviour in at least 5 different ways. So first of all, we needed to understand suspect behaviour at the crime scene. What do these individuals do? Where do they choose to offend and when? And how does the crime context actually affect their behaviour? We also needed to know if these individuals were sufficiently consistent and distinctive in their behaviour for us to use this information to link their crimes together when we don't know who these people are. We also needed to think about how does their behaviour change with time. Secondly, we needed to understand how crime analysts who conduct crime linkage, so that is the linking of crimes based on behaviour, when they're doing this, how do they operationalise concepts like salience, distinctiveness, similarity in behaviour? How do they search for crimes in their databases that could be linked together? What do they do when they're doing this, and how do they make these decisions? How does the crime analysis unit as an entity in itself operate, and what are the drivers of this collective behaviour? Thirdly, we needed to know where in the crime analyst decision-making process, which leads to behaviour, could a decision support tool add value, and how could it add value? Fourthly, we needed to know how do crime analysts interact with a graphical user interface once we designed it, which shows them the algorithmic results. How do we optimize this graphical user interface for the user? And then fifthly, we also needed to think about how does the wider behaviour of criminal justice decision makers and also victims lead to bias within our tool? So hopefully I've managed to illustrate with this example that when we study human behaviour, we need to study human behaviour outside of the immediate context too. So for example, my immediate context where I'm trying to intervene is within a national crime analysis unit. However, the behaviour of suspects and victims and decision makers outside of that unit is influential. Here, we're looking at the behaviour of individuals, we're looking at the behaviour of groups within an organisation, etc. And I think projects like this also illustrate that when we're trying to tackle a grand challenge, we don't just need social and behavioural scientists, we need a multidisciplinary team. Working across disciplines isn't easy. We have subject-specific terminology, we use different methods that can be unfamiliar. However, it's a great learning opportunity where you can expand your learning as a behavioural researcher. As an early career behavioural researcher, you need to be equipped to do this. This project also requires a range of research skills that we use in different ways to understand human behaviour. We needed coding skills to systematically clean a large and messy data set about crime scene behaviour. We needed advanced statistical analysis skills to understand how consistent and distinctive from one another criminals are. We needed interviewing, focus group facilitation, and qualitative research skills to gain insights from expert human analysts. We also needed survey, interview, and eye tracking expertise to understand human-computer interactions. Finally, the behaviour change intervention is the implementation of the tool itself, and you can see that there are many steps needed before we get to that bit. And hopefully all the work that we do before that point increases the likelihood of our behaviour change intervention being successful. The behavioural research that predates the intervention also helps us understand how we should evaluate it. So this brings me to Centre UB. Centre UB is a Centre for Doctoral Training Plus, and it's part of a national initiative to build capability in behavioural research. And it was set up at the same time as Behaviour Research UK, which is the funded hub for the initiative, which is led by the University of Edinburgh and UCL. So I'll come on to exactly what a Centre for Behavioural Training, a Centre for Doctoral Training Plus is. However, its mission is to build capacity across the UK in behavioural research. So this can include behaviour change research, but we are broader than that. And I hope my illustration of the project, which has national reach a moment ago, shows why we need that breadth. A Centre for Doctoral Training Plus means that, yes, Centre UB is a centre of doctoral training, but it's more than that. As a Centre for Doctoral Training, its goal is to train cohorts of early career researchers while they complete their PhD. All of our PhDs are co-produced with a non-academic partner, where the student can learn about behavioural research in practice via a placement with their partner. In addition, we have postdoctoral research fellows, which for those outside academia means a fellowship that you do once you've got your PhD. So again, the fellows design their fellowship with at least one non-academic partner, and a significant part of the fellowship is about the translation of behavioural research. My colleague Yetz will come on to that in more detail shortly. These two arms of our work are about equipping a new generation of behavioural researchers, not only to do research which benefits society, but who will go on to take up leadership positions in organisations where behavioural research insights could have a significant role in decision-making. However, we also have many behavioural researchers already based within government and other organisations who will have training needs themselves, and our training offering includes them too. My colleague Vicky will describe this in more detail, but we achieve this through online and in-person events. It's also important to us that we bring Centre UB and behavioural research to the public, and we achieve this through our seminars, but also an annual public engagement event. When we designed Centre UB, we structured our activities around 4 themes, 3 of which reflected major societal challenges and that we needed to address. And there's also one cross-cutting theme that underpins all of them, and you can see them all in the diagram here. Systems thinking is our cross-cutting theme because human beings are embedded within systems. So, for example, our families, our workplaces, a health system, or a political system. And these systems facilitate or constrain behaviour, and they can also affect the consequences of behaviour. They also affect how we interpret our own behaviour and the behaviour of others. So to illustrate the different sorts of questions that can arise from our pillar themes, here's some examples. For digital harms and goods, is having a mobile phone helpful or harmful for a child? Why do people join online misogynistic communities? What can we learn from human behaviour that can improve technology? How does exposure to online hate and extremist views harm? For equity in physical and mental well-being, what are the most effective behavioural strategies to manage workplace stress? How can physical activity interventions meet the needs of a diverse population? What is the interactive effect of culture, context, and economic factors on mental health? For our environmental change and sustainability theme, how do we motivate people to adopt more sustainable means of travel? How do we communicate messages about climate change so the public can understand them? How do we design new towns for prosperity and health for all? Well, first we have to understand the population's behaviour. How will climate change affect criminal behaviour? Changing the landscape outside of academia to ensure that behavioural research is embedded in policy making and practice at all levels is a formidable challenge and not something that we can do alone. We have excellent partners, including Government Skills, and Siobhan Dickens from Government Skills will be telling you more about how we're working together. We also work closely with Behavioural Research UK, the hub that was funded at the same time as Centre UB, led by the University of Edinburgh and UCL. And we also work closely with their key government partner, Go Science. We have a wealth of other partners, national, regional, and local, who are all helping us to achieve this goal, and we are grateful for their expertise and time. This is a common goal that we all believe in. We all believe that understanding human behaviour is central to tackling the considerable challenges we face. To do this, we need to conduct excellent science that decision makers can be confident in. We need to be able to communicate it to decision makers clearly, but we also need to ensure that they share our belief that behavioural research has much to offer and is an integral part of any jigsaw. If you feel the same and you'd like to be part of Centre UB's work, get in touch with us. We have a broad focus, as I hope I've illustrated, so please get in touch. Do join our mailing list and join us for our public engagement events. I'll hand over to my colleagues now so you can hear more about the detail of what we're doing.
Thank you ever so much, Jess. So now we're going to hand over to our Deputy Director, who's going to talk us through the research opportunities. I think just while we're changing slides and moving over, I think it was really interesting from Jess to hear about the overarching vision of the centre, the broad range of opportunities that are offered, but also defining and conceptualising how we're working on behavioural research. So, are you ready? Perfect. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, sorry. I started sharing and then couldn't find my video anymore. Okay, somebody help with finding how I can show the video.
That's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So hello, my name is Jet Veldhuis van Zanten, and as Vicky already said, I'm the Deputy Director of Centre UB. So I will talk a little bit more about the next generation of interdisciplinary experts of behavioural research and what we are doing as part of Centre UB. So when I talk about the next generation, what I will be focusing on in this part of the presentation is our PhD students. So that is a 4-year research and training program. And I'll talk, after that, I will talk about the early career researcher fellows. So that's a 1-year program. One thing that is really key, and this is filtering through all of our activities at Centre UB, is that both the PhD projects as well as the researcher fellowships are co-designed with partner organizations. So we have 15 funded PhD studentships per cohort. So they are funded by the ESRC together with the University of Birmingham. Jess already talked about the importance for behavioral research to have all these different scientific disciplines to be included. And that's really nicely in terms of the funding support we've received also from the University of Birmingham is really covering all those different areas of research. We will also have at least 2 fully externally funded PhD studentships per cohort. Our first cohort starts in a week and a half, and we've got next 2 cohorts starting in September 25, and then the other one in September 2026. So just to give you an impression of the types of projects that we are supporting in this first cohort. So these are the themes that Jess has already explained to you. And I will just kind of give you some time to read the different projects. So these are all projects starting on the 30th of September. What you can see with these is that they are really interdisciplinary, and what is nice as well, they have a whole range of different types of partner or organizations, and we're really keen to expand our range of partner organizations for our next cohort of students as well. So I mentioned 15 studentships will be recruiting very soon. So please sign up for our mailing list, which means that we will be able to contact you with all the information as soon as that is being launched, which will be next week. and the email address will be up later on slides as well. So what is included in a studentship? So these are projects that are developed by a partner organization and staff at the University of Birmingham. And that co-design is really, really important. We want it to be projects that are really kind of addressing important questions from the partner organization. It is a 4-year program. Which means that it allows time for research and training. And it also includes a placement with a partner organization. Now, how that placement is done, that can be done in loads of different ways. What is important to us is that it is meaningful for the development of the PhD student and meaningful for the project itself. So in some cases, this could be that the PhD student will be spending a block of 3 months with the partner organization, whereas in other situations, it might be more meaningful to have regular kind of visits to the partner organization. How applications are assessed, obviously, kind of is the program of work, is it relevant to our remit, understanding behavior? Is it also within the remit of the ESRC, which is our main funder? But we also really look at what is the collaboration with the partner organization? Is this really a meaningful collaboration, and what kind of support is available for the PhD student, both from the supervisors at the University of Birmingham, but also the supervisors based within the partner organization. So we also look at the training and development opportunities. Again, what we are doing with these studentships is really kind of like developing that next generation. So training and development opportunities are also really, really important. So what is the process for this? How can you get involved with that? In a few weeks' time, we have an interchange event. So it's on the 4th of October. If you sign up for our mailing list, you can then also kind of receive the information about that to sign up for our interchange event. And that is really aiming at making, supporting connections between staff at the University of Birmingham and partner organizations. So we will have time for you to discuss research ideas and to really kind of like develop ideas, which could be a really good PhD studentship. So that event is at the start of October, and then in December, so you will have 2 months' time to develop a PhD project and to submit your application. We will evaluate all of those applications, and then by the end of January, we will give you the outcome of your application, and then if successful, that is the time when you can recruit a PhD student for your project. Now, one of the things that I'm very excited about is that in that process of the recruitment for PhD students, we are supported by the Talent Foundry. And the Talent Foundry is a charity that is involved with increasing social mobility for young people. So they will provide additional support for preparing applications and also for supporting interviews for people from underrepresented backgrounds, backgrounds that are underrepresented in the current PhD cohort. I saw there was a question also about international students. Our PhD studentships are also open to international students. So if you are a potential PhD student, keep an eye out to any opportunities which will be advertised early in 2025. I also mentioned the externally funded PhD project, and if your organization would like to find out more about that, please contact us and we can discuss the opportunities and the possibilities for this, and we can help you with building your project and just discuss all these opportunities in more detail. So again, that's our email address. Please contact us if you've got any questions about that. So that is the PhD students. Then the next part is our early career researcher fellowships. So we have each year, each cohort will have eight fellows, and they are fully funded by the ESRC. And as Jess already said, a postdoctoral research fellow, those are people who have completed their PhD. And we are opening up this opportunity to both people who have recently completed a PhD, but also those who are returning to academia. So people who have completed their PhD several years ago, have worked outside of academia, but are keen to return. It's a one-year program, and the fellow will be employed by the University of Birmingham. But as co-design is really key to all of our activities, they will be working together with a partner organization. And the project that the research fellow will do is will also be developed together with a partner organization and a mentor from the University of Birmingham. And again, our first cohort will be starting in November. So sign up for our mailing list, and you'll find out more about what they are doing and what their projects are. So what is included in a fellowship? The first part is that at least 25% of the fellowship has to be related to translation of behavioral research to knowledge exchange. So this is based on either research the fellow has conducted as part of their PhD, or it can be data that is available through the partner organization. And then it is it could be, for example, using that information, using that data to develop policy briefings, or it could be to develop dissemination materials based on their research, or assessing the implementation of those dissemination materials. The second part is, again, it's at least 25% of the fellowship should be spent on the development as a behavioral researcher. So that is really depending on what the researcher wants to do following the fellowship as well. So these could be training courses, these could be networking events and things like that. Then there is also an opportunity, and this part is not compulsory, but there's also an opportunity to conduct further behavioral research, and that should be no more than 50% of the fellowship. So how we assess those these applications is we look at the separate components, but we also really look at do they build a coherent program together. So do they fit with each other? And it's also really important that the activities that are all kind of put together, that they really will help to achieve the fellows' career aspirations. So the process for the research fellowships, the call will be launched later this autumn, but similar to our PhD studentship applications as well, we will facilitate the matchmaking between potential fellows, partner organizations, and University of Birmingham staff. The deadline for these applications will be spring 2025, and then the fellowships are due to start in autumn 2025. As you can see, the dates here are slightly less finalized compared to the PhD studentships. So again, sign up for our mailing list, and you will find out all the information about this. And that was it for me, and I will hand over to my colleagues.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. I'm going to pass over to Siobhan, who's from the Government Skills.
Thanks very much. I'm just going to pop my screen up. If you just give me a moment. Let's see. There we go. So really nice to be here today, and thank you very much, Centre UB, for inviting me. I'm going to talk a little bit about Centre UB's collaboration with government, and in particular an exciting post that we're creating, which is a fellowship in behavioural research capacity building. I'm the head of evidence and impact for the Government Skills Directorate in Cabinet Office, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what we do in a moment. I'm also the head of the social research profession in Cabinet Office number 10 and Treasury. So I wanted to give you a very brief, and it's going to have to be incredibly brief, context into behavioural research in government. And we're hoping that future events will offer opportunities to learn more about the applications of behavioural research in government and other settings. There's already an existing network of behavioural researchers working in government. And there's quite a lot of existing capacity and capability across different government departments in behavioural research. And there's lots of interest in this area. And there's a wide range of existing applications of behavioural research in government. So, for example, many of you may have heard about the sort of perhaps now infamous nudge unit, which was using sort of more behavioural science type techniques in issues like trying to get people to pay their taxes. But there's a huge amount of other applications of behavioural research in government that go far beyond that. And, you know, some examples were the way that behavioural research was used during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the way that a process of scientific advice in behavioural research was established to support policy making during the pandemic. And I also wanted to share this post. You may have seen this communications campaign while you've been out and about if you live in the UK. This is a campaign about violence against women. And this was put together with a lot of behavioural research insights from the Government Communications Service to really look at what the main factors might be, and that the main ways to sort of communicate with people to try and actually encourage behavioural change when it comes to this issue. So we have an existing network of behavioural researchers across government, and behavioural research cuts across different professions in government. So the scientific professions, the analytical and social scientific professions, communications, policy, and also, as you saw from Jess's talk earlier, digital and data science professions as well. And government's excited to be collaborating with the hub of BR UK and also Centre UB to be taking a really ambitious approach to building on this strong base that we already have in government around behavioural research, with BR UK focusing on key policy areas where we need more behavioural research input, and then the Centre UB partnership really focused on building the capacity that we need to actually deliver that behavioural research. So we are partnering with Centre UB on an exciting fellowship opportunity. My team, Government Skills, is a directorate within Cabinet Office, and we're part of the Government People Group, which deals with all things related to people and workforce across government. Lots of people, when they think of Cabinet Office, probably think of like Westminster, the Houses of Parliament, and the Cabinet, and the more sort of political side of Cabinet Office. But there's actually a big part of Cabinet Office that is what we would call functional, and we actually run the civil service, which is a big, diverse sector of 520,000 people, some of whom do work in Westminster and give policy advice to ministers, but many of whom work in lots of different environments across the UK, including prisons, job centres, border force, etc. Government Skills works across the whole of government to work out our strategy and policy on knowledge, skills, relationships for the government workforce, and making sure that we've got really effective learning and development interventions across the whole civil service and wider public sector to develop the knowledge and skills that we need. And we look to do that in a really evidence-based way. We're really responsible for championing the value of investment in skills across government, and encouraging individuals to participate in learning and development, and really making sure that it's easy for everybody who works in government to have access to learning that helps them to thrive in their career and excel in their role. So hopefully you can see from that why there's a really strong fit between what we're interested in and what Centre UB are interested in, and it's exciting to have been able to develop this fellowship together. So we're going to be recruiting a 4-year fellowship focused on behavioural research capacity building in government. This will advertise really soon, and if you keep an eye on the social media channels and the University of Birmingham website, you'll be able to access the details of that. This fellow will be recruited to the University of Birmingham, but pretty much immediately seconded to work in government, to work in the Government Skills team, to work on this problem and this opportunity around capacity building. And we're going to be bringing in somebody who can take a really evidence-based approach to the whole cycle of investment. So first of all, really getting an evidence-based understanding of the sort of problem and opportunity here, thinking about what really effective interventions will look like in this space, and then doing the end-to-end evaluation of those as well. And we've got a real focus with Centre UB on the long-term sustainability. So we're not looking for something that comes in and sort of sparks off and then dies away, but we're looking for somebody who's really passionate about coming in to develop something with long-term impact. So do look out for the details of that post. And that's all from me, and I'm going to pass back now to my colleagues.
That's great. Thank you ever so much, Siobhan. Really interesting to hear about those aspects. So that brings on to myself as the last talk to go through today. And I'm Victoria Goodyear, and I'm going to introduce our training program. So just to, similar to how we started the webinar in terms of what does behavioural research mean, what does training mean? Because it means different things across different professions. Now, training can be referred to as professional development, capacity building, building capability, learning intervention, or CPD, continuous professional development. Overall, there seems to be common agreement that learning is about learning that professionals undertake to enhance their abilities. In terms of what we know as effective training, decades of research, different analysis, literature reviews, meta-analysis, qualitative, quantitative studies, mixed method studies have allowed us to understand what are the key principles of effective training. And some of the key principles that we've pinpointed in particular here for today and that underpin our training program is that training is effective when it's sustained over time. It's not something just one-off and that you dip in and out of. It's collaborative. It involves communication and interaction with others. It's subject specific, so it's not too abstract. You learn from external experts and a range of expertise. It has relevance, so it means that there will be buy-in. And it's practice-based, it's translational. You can use what you learn in different contexts and with different professions. So in terms of the Centre UB, what we're doing in terms of our training program, since the centre started in October 2023, we've been busy developing a national training strategy on behavioural research. So from December to 2023 until now, we've co-produced a national strategy, and this has involved co-production activities with over 200 individuals. And to highlight the different groups that we've talked to across different government departments and networks, including Government Skills, Go Science, and the Behavioural Science Network. We've had partner consultations with small and large organisations, national and local organisations, and organisations across the public and private sector. For example, the National Crime Agency and UK Active. We've also had consultations with other ESRC-funded centres, such as the UK Data Service. As Jess highlighted, we have a partnership with Behavioural Research UK, and this is the ESRC hub for behavioural research capability development. And we've also had academic engagement, and this is across current doctoral students, current postdoctoral fellows, and as well as academics across with expertise across the 4 broad range of our themes. In terms of what we've then deduced from this training strategy, the starting point in designing teaching and learning and opportunities is always the learners and their learning. So we've then identified some key aims for the learner profiles. So the doctoral students, the aim here is to produce well-rounded doctors who are ready to take up leadership track positions in academia, industry, policy, and wider professional communities. The fellow training programme is very much underpinned by putting research into action to ensure that they are well equipped for careers within and beyond academia. And the aim of the partner training is to provide a training programme that meets the needs of partners across the public and private sector and government, and can develop the knowledge, skills and competencies of the wider workforce. Once we'd identified the learner profiles, we've then identified 10 key priority areas of behavioural research training from our collaborative and co-produced activities. Now, some of these relate to some of the themes, but just to highlight, and you can see in the column some more descriptive aspects, the key topic areas are artificial intelligence in behavioural research, systems thinking and behavioural research, equality and diversity in behavioural research, methods in behavioural research, the well-being of behavioural researchers, environment and behaviour, sustainability and behaviour, workplace health, government and behavioural research, and interdisciplinary working. And these topics are going to underpin the training programme that we provide over the next 2 years and will be evaluated on an ongoing basis. In terms of what we developed from the training strategy, we've imposed a training structure that we hope can meet our diverse network of students, fellows, and partners. The training structure is organised around 5 key areas: webinars, masterclasses, master's level modules, CPD programmes, and cohort training. The master's level modules refer to top-up or advanced skills training that our doctoral students and fellows can complete across different areas. But today I'm going to focus on those that are most relevant to the partner network and those of you that are probably most of you joining today. The webinars are going to be held on a monthly basis. There'll be 1 hour. There'll be open access to anybody that is engaging with the centre, and they're going to be hot topic focused. We'll have masterclasses. These are going to be held quarterly. There'll be 2 hours approximately. They'll have partner access and they'll be skills based. So if you think of a masterclass, you should be able to do something by the time you finish and complete a masterclass. CPD, these are going to be delivered on demand. They'll range from being delivery in terms of half a day to 5 days. There'll be partner access and some aspects will be fee paying. They'll be based on content plus skills, so you should be able to know and do something by the end of it, such as that you'll have a certificate in a particular area. And these will be either online or delivered through a format such as boot camp, so across 1 or 2 days. In terms of the cohort training, there are a number of different activities. Road shows is where we go out to different partner organisations to deliver training. For example, if there's a training need within an organisation or an organisation that works with different communities and different professionals, we can go and provide that training to that organisation. We'll have challenge days, which are addressing a key challenge in behavioural research, and these will bring together doctoral students, fellows, and partners. We'll have futures events, and that's really about thinking beyond and thinking about the different careers that are available in behavioural research within and beyond academia. And we will have an annual visit to our Raymond Priestley Centre, which is a residential and aims to build and develop wider social and emotional learning skills around doctoral training and fellow training. So in terms of what will be happening in the next coming month, here is the training that is available currently to partners across our that are partners with Centre UB. Today is our launch webinar, and we've had an introduction to behavioural research. Next month in October, the focus is on stress and physical activity, and we'll be joined by Yet, who you've heard from today, but also our colleagues Sarah Williams and our training fellow, Dr. Laura Wright. In November, the webinar will be focused on deep fakes and led by Professor Jennifer Cook. In December, we'll have our first masterclass, and that was focused on equality and diversity in behavioural research and led by Dr. Gerald Jordan. And in December, we'll have another webinar focused on decarbonisation, and that will be led by Professor Martin Freer. To flag some upcoming training events for 24-25, we're going to be launching an online CPD course that's focused on working on distressing material and managing well-being. Our first challenge day is focused on the relationship between crime and climate change. And our futures event will be held in June, focused on careers beyond academia. Central to Centre UB's training programme, as well as our wider ethos and vision about the centre and research and training opportunities, is partner engagement. We are really underpinned by co-production, and therefore throughout any time that our training is being delivered, we would welcome feedback and suggestions for topics and skills that we should be focused. We are really emphasising a co-delivered approach, that we co-deliver training with partner organisations, professionals and practitioners beyond academia. And if we go back to those points about what makes effective training, key training is going to have buy-in and it's going to be translational if it's co-produced and co-delivered. And finally, we'll be doing an evaluation, and this is going to make sure that our principles of delivering an innovative, inclusive and effective training programme are underpinned. So if you do receive a survey from us, then we would encourage you to just take a little time to spend a couple of minutes, and that will mean that we can help and improve our training programme.